Hey guys, this is Claudia. I'm here with Pastor Josh for the Weekend Extra. This weekend, Josh talked all about change in our series Made for This. So that was a great sermon, Josh. I just had a couple questions. So one of them was, how can I kind of pinpoint when I'm in my life, like when I'm slipping from ignorance into defiance?
Yeah. So we were talking about in Ephesians 4, the Gentiles, the way they think, and it kind of just is the default way of life. And really there's kind of almost two ways that I see it, just being one of where I don't know how to live life under God's rule, just because maybe I haven't either grown up around it or I haven't yet experienced him yet. And then even just when it kind of folds into that defiance and like, okay, I kind of want to just follow myself. And actually one of the things that helped bring that out for me was understanding that actually at the root of all that default thinking is what's called pride, which actually doesn't get a bad rap in our culture. Like pride wouldn't be viewed as a bad thing. And what we're actually talking about is kind of the core of what sin is, like where sin comes from. And so when we talk about the root problem with that former way of life, what we're actually trying to identify as pride. And where I started to see that in my life, how I kind of like recognized that pride was something that was very present in my life. It wasn't just, I don't know. It's actually that I'm being very defiant, very prideful. I'm kind of trying to control my own life, and I'm purposefully resisting change. One of the ways that I recognized that was through my mentor. We were going through this just study I had to do as I was doing school, and it was on pride and how it shows up in our life, and just a few of the different ways that I think I just started to see that's that way of defiance. And so it's things like depending on ourselves rather than God, expecting others to treat us as if we're God, refusing to love and trust, refusing to accept forgiveness, attempting to control the future, being territorial about our status, acting as if we're better or further advanced or more virtuous, refusing to recognize our own wrongs and where we fall short and where we sin, or minimizing and rationalizing it, being too sensitive, being too critical, refusing to receive guidance from our community. There's all sorts of things that it can kind of manifest in life. One of the lines at the end, it says, becoming legends in our own minds. And I think that's where that defiance and that kind of Gentile way of thinking is that I'm only going to trust myself, and I'm actually putting myself in a position where anything that's going to get in my way, I'm going to push out of the way. And I think that's kind of a scary place to be if I'm trying to change and become who God's made me to be, is that I'm going to actually be at a heart posture already where I'm saying there's nothing wrong with me, and that pride has set in, and I'm not actually going to be looking for anything to put off and to put on. I'm going to think that I just need to continue to be who I am already.
Mm-hmm. That was great. Thanks. So another question, or just kind of like topic that you talked about, like renewing your mind, and like made me think of Romans 12:2, like do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So I guess a question is like, how do you pinpoint when like what you're seeking to renew your mind is like not true, like either I don't know, yeah, like how if
Right.
it's like a lie or just like a false truth, I guess.
Right, and I guess obviously one of these silly illustrations I've heard before is that the people who work for like the U.S. Mint and they try to identify counterfeits is they study the original so well and they're so familiar with the original that when they spot a counterfeit, they can tell the difference. And so there's like usually that's translated into the fact of make sure you really know truth, and I think that's really, really good. And I think that can only go so far, though, that I can only kind of get my nose in the Bible and learn so much before what I actually really need is what I can't see. And as I'm trying to identify a lie or an insecurity or a fear or a doubt, what I actually need is someone to know me, someone to know the things that I struggle with and to care about me enough to ask hard questions and to ask me if I'm really struggling with those things. And then to speak truth to me, things that I actually already know, and my nose was in the Bible, and I read that, but I did not believe it. And that's why I'm doubting it, is I know it intellectually, but they're actually looking kind of outside of me. They're outside of my head. They're watching me do life. And this is why life groups, plug for life groups, are so awesome, is because I've just developed a lot of relationships where even me as the leader, inviting people to just have permission to see the messy parts, to have honest conversations, and then for them to listen to them and listen to what they're seeing. And really has been some of the most transforming parts of my life, either through a mentor or through a small group, and people who actually know me, and they can help me identify the things that I'm failing to believe.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of your insight on this topic. This has been the Weekend Extra. Thanks for watching.